G'day gymnastics skill seekers. Welcome back to another training vlog. In my last vlog, I shared day one of my current phase, which was all about pike flexibility, press to handstand, and handstand push-ups. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out here. I'm currently in week 2 of the current training phase, and I plan to share session number 2 in this video. So it's a combination of front splits and gymnastics bridge mobility, combined with front lever training, as well as a handstand moving down into eccentric advanced tuck planche. So I'm training lots of straight arm strength in today's session. So here's how the session went down. Been working on increasing my calorie consumption, so mid-morning snack has been fruit salad. So today we've got a little bit of pineapple, a little bit of rock melon, and a little bit of papaya. Definitely notice that if I eat more during the morning, the training session in the afternoon goes a lot better. Do a lot of the filming in the gym, which is now in the shed that we built, which is pretty cool. So I typically start my session maybe with recording a few of the videos that I need for my clients, or maybe videos that I need for the training templates that I'm writing. It's a good way for me to warm up and prep myself for my session, but it's also a good way for me to get some work done at the same time, so it's a bit bang for my buck. I've tried training fasted and I've tried eating low carb diet, but none of it really works for me. I feel better when I eat before I train, and I also feel better when I'm consuming more carbohydrates. I think it's a very individual thing, and you need to experiment with the diet that works best for you. So I'm starting out with my weighted leg swings. These are 2 kilogram ankle weights on each foot. And I find it a great way to warm up the hip flexors, to warm up the abdominals, and just sort of switch on my mind, get my mindset ready for the training session. My hip flexors are definitely one of my weak points. They've become a lot better since I've started working on gymnastic strength training and focusing on my L-sit, my V-sit, and a lot of core compression work. But it's something that I think we need to train regularly. So this is at the start of every one of my gymnastic strength training sessions. So after the leg swings, I'm going to move into the mobility part of my session. The first exercise is an assisted front split glute lift. So the idea is to sort of move into a good hip extension range, and the front knee is bent, but the foot's slightly out in front of the knee. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm just carrying a little bit of my body weight by using the P-bars to assist and allow me to sit deeper. And I'm focusing on trying to lengthen the back leg. So the back knee starts bent and it's just touching the floor. And then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push the heel away from my glute, extend the back leg, and open up a greater angle of hip extension, which will obviously help me sink into the front splits. It's a gnarly little stretch for hip flexors. You can certainly feel it. And it's really going to help me with the gymnastic bridge as well, because it's opening up that anterior chain of the hip. The second exercise is continuing with more hip flexor stretching. So it's a toe to wall hip flexor stretch. I'm doing pulses moving in and out of this stretch, and I'm holding a weight overhead. I think it's about 8 to 10 kilo dumbbell, and this just helps to lengthen out the anterior chain. So if you're drawing a line from the knee and following my body shape all the way up to my hand, we're getting this arc sort of shape, and I'm pulsing in and out of that. I'm keeping the glute contracted, so then the pressure is placed on the front of the hip and just starting to stretch out the hip flexors. So it's 3 rounds of that front split stretch, and then that hip flexor pulse, obviously switching legs. Then we move into some more specific bridge stuff. So we're starting with like a straight arm pullover position across the bench. Just a lightweight here. This can be a vulnerable position for the shoulders, so be careful if you're trying this one out. You're taking the weight overhead with straight arms, and then we're also trying to drop the hips to get more spinal extension here. Pausing and hanging out for a little bit, focusing on the breath, and then just relaxing out of that stretch. So just lifting the hips up, bringing the arms back up, and just moving in and out of that stretch to try and increase, obviously, that shoulder angle, that increasing shoulder flexion, but also trying to increase spinal extension. From here, I'm moving into a combination of bridge push-ups, elevated bridge push-ups, and then just the isometric hold. So I'm doing about 6 push-ups at the moment. Each time you sort of push up, it helps you sort of move into a deeper range, and I'm trying to push through the legs and straighten the legs as much as I can here. Currently on the highest setting of the Reebok Step and a 20 kilo weight plate. And then after doing those repetitions, it's just hanging out in the bridge and trying to work on that. I'm actively trying to contract the back muscles to get better spinal extension. The glutes are staying contracted. And like I said, I'm trying to straighten the legs and push the shoulders further forward. The end goal is to be able to stack the shoulders vertically above the wrists or have them forward of the wrists. At the end of the bridge session, little puppy Sky, she's a little border collie, believe it or not, blue merle coat. And she always loves to come in and give you a lick in the face when you're doing bridges or handstands, which sometimes is quite off-putting, but it's also great to have her in the gym keeping me company. So that's my mobility session done. And then from here, I'm going to move into my warm-up for the strength training session. Now, my warm-up is roughly 10 to 12 exercises, and it's just one set of each exercise. The idea is just exposing myself to a lot of, sort of foundation movements, gymnastic strength training foundation movements, and doing that in every session that I do gymnastic strength training. So it's just this frequency of exposure of bent arm and straight arm and stretching and all these different things that helps me sustain it, maintain it, and obviously try to progress it as well. So we're starting out with this eagle hang. It's an interesting grip. Think about the pinky fingers being on the inside edge. I like to move into a tuck position and push the head forward because I find it's a deeper stretch on the pecs for me. Then I'm moving into just like a doorway pec stretch. It's a bent arm one and just trying to open up the pecs. It's roughly 20 seconds in each position there. From here, it's just bodyweight chin-ups. It's doing 10 reps, trying to maintain the hollow body, just warming up bent arm strength with that one. Moving into a banded Maltese, so the hollow body position, bit of core activation, and just straight arm conditioning there. It's going to help to condition the elbows, and obviously that's going to be good for sort of planche training. Moving into dip shrugs, one of my favorite exercises for building shoulder depression, keeping those elbows locked and trying to work full range of motion here. Take it outside. Whenever I'm using the rings, I've got this outdoor pull-up bar that I built when I was traveling around Australia. So I try to set up and get some sunshine while I'm training. These are just some Bulgarian ring rows. Again, just warming up the pulling strength upper back. Then I'm hanging out in the bottom of a ring dip for 30 seconds. This is really just to stretch out the anterior shoulder and prepare for the workout to come. Especially if I'm doing a lot of planche training or you're doing a lot of handstand push-ups, it's good to warm this position up before we get into that. Then more straight arm strength stuff. We've just got an RTO ring support hanging out here for 30 seconds. It's quite challenging. It's more challenging than it looks for a lot of people. From here, just kicking up into handstand. Obviously, first handstand rep of the day can be a bit shaky. So just hanging out in handstand, warming up, preparing for the session to come. I'm lucky to have a rope in the gym. I really enjoy rope climbs, so I've got an L-sit rope climb. It's funny, like the days where I feel that the rope climb is easy is usually a sign that I've slept well and I've got good energy. The day that I feel the rope climb's a bit harder, it's definitely a day where I'm like, ooh, today's going to be a tough session. So it's a good sort of gauge for how things are going to go. Today's rope climb was feeling pretty good. Here I'm just doing some straddle presses. It's still part of the warm-up. And, this can sometimes take me a little while to warm up depending on flexibility. I might throw in some stretching before I do the press. Yeah, but the idea is just to add in some straddle presses there. A bit shaky on the way down. And then I've also just got some handstand to tuck handstand, eccentric lower into just like a tuck planche, and this is just prepping for the session to come. I don't try and hold this for too long because I don't want to fatigue myself too much before the real work begins. That's pretty much my warm-up for today. That's the series of exercises I go through. It's virtually just one set of each movement. On the press handstand, it's 3 reps. On the handstand to tuck handstand, coming down to tuck planche, it's 3 reps. So now we're moving into the main session, the strength session. I've got 5 rounds today of doing an eccentric front lever and also working on the handstand, coming down into more of an advanced tuck planche. I'll talk you through it and let you know how it went. So first set today in the eccentric front levers, I was playing around with false grip. So I taped my wrists and I was just trying to use the false grip here and lower down. It's quite tough on the wrists and it's also quite tough on the elbows. I didn't feel like I got the same level of contraction that I do get in my lats when I don't use the false grip, but it's something I want to play with a little bit more, because if I can hold the false grip in the front lever, then it allows me to transition into other movements on the rings. So it's just something that I'll play with here and there to try and start to develop that false grip strength in the straight arm front lever. So in the next set, I didn't use the false grip, and you can see that the tempo is a little bit better, the hold position's a little bit better. I'm feeling the lats working a lot more here. I'm trying to regress as I go, so I start with a full front lever, keeping both legs straight. Then I'm doing more of a straddle, and then finally I'm starting to do like a sort of bent knee straddle, just as the muscle starts to fatigue, making sure I'm trying to get as much time on tension as I can in that eccentric. The goal would be to do them more as sort of full front levers, keeping the legs together, really working on, contracting the glutes, setting that posterior pelvic tilt, keeping the quads tight, pushing the feet together, pulling the rib cage down. A lot of core strength there. So I think that's one of my weaknesses. I've got to get stronger through the core, but I am starting to feel a change in my front lever in a sense of I'm feeling like I'm pushing down on the rings more, and I'm able to create more leverage there, or keep the rings further down the body, closer towards the hips as I'm doing the front lever. I really get a good sensation through the lower part of my back. After doing this, I can feel that those muscles are working. You don't really feel that in a pull up or a chin up. It's more sort of upper lat where I feel it. So definitely developing some new lat muscles there. So I'll have to turn sideways to walk through doors soon. So anyway, that's my front lever training. As the sets went on, obviously you start to fatigue a little bit more, and by the end of it, my straight arm strength is starting to lack just a little bit, but I'm enjoying that training and definitely noticing that I'm making some progress there. Okay, the other exercise today is kicking up to the handstand, coming down into the tuck handstand, not a tight tuck, because what I want to try to do here is I want to stay in more of an advanced tuck, so hips at 90 degrees or open more, as I move from that handstand and try my best to lower down into more of an advanced tuck planche. This typically takes me a few reps to warm up, especially in the advanced tuck planche. I've got to get my shoulder lean further forward, and something that I'm definitely working on. The anterior shoulder needs to be stronger. I've got to maintain the protraction and move from elevation in the handstand to depression as I come through into that tuck planche, or into that advanced tuck planche, sorry. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about, and once I warm up, I feel that the reps are a little bit better. But yeah, it's something I definitely need to progress on. The tight tuck is definitely something I can control and even hold the tuck planche. But in this advanced tuck at the moment, I'm struggling to hold that position. I chatted to my gymnastics coach about this, and he said, like, you've just got to progress. We've just got to start to try and work on that advanced tuck shape. I could stay on the tuck all day and progress at that a little bit, but if I want to move to advanced tuck, I've got to start to train it. So don't worry about the fact that I can't hold it. Don't worry about the fact that I feel like I'm failing. It's just, starting to build the awareness of that position. It's starting to train that position. It's allowing the body to be exposed, to a little bit of the shoulder lean, to a little bit of the advanced tuck shape, and over time this will start to develop. So it'll be interesting to see how I go with this over the 6 weeks of this training block. I don't think I'll nail it by the end of the 6 weeks, but I certainly feel that my form will improve. So that's pretty much my session for today. It's taken me about 90 minutes to get through that session, combining the sets of flexibility and then 5 rounds of that front lever, and also working on that handstand to tuck planche. By the end of the session, my lats are pretty smoked. That straight arm strength is definitely working. But like I said before, I think it's going to be a really good training phase. I'm looking forward to seeing the results that come from this block. If you've got any questions, comments about my training, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section below. If you're working on your gymnastic strength and your flexibility, best of luck with it. If I can help, shout out. More than happy to share. Check out some of the videos on the Sustainable Training YouTube channel. I try to share as much as I can here to help gymnastics skill seekers improve their training programs. Happy training.